Welcome to my channel, this is 6-Path Weeb. Today, we're diving into the next chapter of our fanfic series, What If Naruko Was Abandoned by Kushina? Part 3. Disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's get right into it. 2 years had passed since Iwagakure accepted the help from Naruko, and many adventures had unfolded across the elemental countries. Naruko herself had grown stronger and wiser after forming a bond with the 4- and 5-tailed spirits. Flashback. 3 days after making the agreement, Anaki, as a sign of trust in Naruko, led her to the crystal chambers used to house the Baijuu. Right this way, Naruko. We keep them hidden beneath the city, so until a Jinchuriki is found, they remain safe, the elderly Tsuchikage said, carefully guiding her down the winding, spiral cave. Naruko followed silently, her eyes adjusting to the dim light as their footsteps echoed softly off the earthen walls. After what felt like an endless descent, the narrow path widened suddenly into a vast underground arena, large enough to contain a creature of incredible size. 2 gleaming diamonds stood atop waist-high pillars, each sparkling as though it contained the heart of the earth itself. Naruko approached with reverence. "May I take them now, or should I wait until I've fulfilled my part of the bargain?" Anaki stroked his white goatee thoughtfully. He had heard reports from Kizuki that denying the limitless spirit would be unwise. Perhaps it was better to trust Naruko and enjoy her company in Iwa, one never knew when her help might be needed again. "I see no reason to deny you what we agreed. Take them as a show of faith," he said. Grateful, Naruko placed her hands on the container holding Inbi. She focused her yokai energy on the intricate inscriptions, feeling the flow of the gem as if it were alive. Slowly, the etched grooves began to glow with her power, and she carefully opened a channel for the spirit to leave its crystal prison. Like a tide breaking free from a dam, the crimson yokai surged forth. Naruko gently guided the release, absorbing part of the energy into herself. With her careful control, Yinbi, once a towering 100-foot gorilla, now stood reduced to a more manageable 50 feet with only 2 tails. Yinbi's glowing red eyes blazed with frustration. "Tiny spirit, you dare meddle in things beyond you. Anaki, you might want to step back," Naruko said calmly, sensing the tension in the cavern. The Baijuu lunged, its enormous fist striking at her, but Naruko was ready. Raising her hand, she absorbed the energy and power it had tried to use against her. 2 sleek, barbed tails sprouted from her back, and intricate glowing patterns traced along her wings and arms. Her midnight black fur shimmered as she grew, her eyes now a swirling red, 3 Tomoe Sharingan shining within. "Come, little ape, and let's finish this," Naruko said, her voice steady yet full of determination. The 2 spirits clashed in a display of power, fists meeting with tremendous force. Naruko, graceful and clever, used every part of her body to match Inbi's strength. She dodged, twisted, and struck, each movement flowing like a dance of light and shadow. Seeing an opening, she bit down on one of Inbi's massive arms, not in cruelty, but in a way that drained excess energy safely. Inbi cried out, feeling her power drawing it back. Using her wings, Naruko created a path to separate them, sending the once mighty gorilla stumbling into the wall. The battle raged, but Naruko's calm focus and clever strategy slowly turned the tide. Finally, her twin tails pierced through the remaining defenses of the enraged creature, and its fury subsided. Inbi's eyes softened, its energy returning to balance, leaving Naruko as the victorious guardian. She knelt before the subdued Baijuu, whispering words of understanding and kindness. Inbi, sensing her pure heart, relaxed fully, its enormous form shrinking peacefully. Anaki watched quietly, knowing that Naruko's wisdom and gentle strength had saved the day without unnecessary harm. With her task complete, Naruko gathered the remaining energy from Inbi, not needing to consume it with violence. She had mastered a gentle way to channel the power, keeping all the spirits whole and safe while still growing stronger herself. Flashback end. Anaki left before Naruko could begin confronting the Gobi, but the tremors of their battle rippled hundreds of feet above them through the city. An hour later, Naruko emerged from the underground coliseum, her robes tattered and her body covered in many healing wounds, yet a triumphant smirk lit her face. The power of the Inbi and Gobi had changed her. She was more relaxed now, even more witty and sarcastic, though never careless. Kiyomi, on the other hand, remained much the same. She preferred calm and quiet, letting her love and support grow steadily, always ready to bolster Naruko's spirits. Kiyomi knew that Naruko was strong, one of the strongest warriors she had ever known, but she also knew her greatest vulnerability, compassion. Naruko could be relentless in battle, yet beneath her courage and victories lingered deep emotional scars from past ordeals. Even years later, Kiyomi sometimes had dreams of Naruko losing control, echoes of the dark days in Makyo. Meanwhile, Mei had been learning new Yotan Jutsu from the lava masters of Iwagakure. One of her teachers was the innovative granddaughter of the Tsuchikage herself, Kurotsuchi. Both women admired each other's styles, blending techniques and creating unique ways to wield lava. Mei's mastery made it flow like superheated liquid, perfect for someone from Mizu no Kuni, while Iwagakure's lava was slower, denser, and sludge-like. Together, they learned and grew. Iwagakure flourished with the help of Naruko and her friends. Agriculture thrived, crops yielding 3 times their usual harvest. Medical knowledge spread across the country, strengthening young and old alike. Morale soared, with Naruko as the bright, determined face leading the nation toward growth and hope. But in Hai no Kuni, prosperity began to falter. Iwa now produced far more vegetables, fruits, and grains than its people could consume, and they shared this bounty with neighboring lands. Hai no Kuni, which had once dominated these markets with its fertile soil, found itself undercut. Iwa's produce, nurtured by Naruko's yokai, was not only cheaper but far more resilient and delicious. Attempts to poison the farms failed, and the following year Iwa's harvest exceeded even expectations. Farmers across the elemental countries tried to grow Iwa's seeds themselves, but only sprouts would appear. Naruko's magical touch had intertwined the yokai with the land itself, only Iwa could cultivate these extraordinary crops. The market upheaval hit Hai no Kuni hard. Farmland owners tightened budgets, wages shrank, and prices soared. People spent less on leisure and joy, and a quiet sadness spread across the once thriving villages. Even Konohagakure, once prosperous and bustling, felt the brunt of the downturn. The daimyo relied more on samurai for border protection and dispute resolution, rather than the overpaid and underutilized ninja. Out-of-country missions were redirected to Iwa, trading cheap food for contracts, leaving many ninja idle but unhappily waiting for work. On the bright side, with so many capable warriors at rest, Konoha became one of the safest places in the land. Minato, once a joyful leader, had become a strict guardian over Konoha, determined to keep it from collapsing entirely. His worries had begun 2 years ago with the return of his scout and recovery team, which included his daughter. Flashback. Minato sat in his comfortable chair, reviewing intelligence reports from across the lands. These were not only spy reports but detailed notes on city expansions and blueprints. In times of war, hidden villages were shock troopers; in times of peace, they were the silent hands that kept the gears turning. Suddenly, a loud crash jolted him upright. Outside, dust swirled into a massive cloud. Minato leapt into action, brandishing his kunai, and rushed into the street. From the debris, a figure wreathed in deep blue flames stumbled and fell face first. Naruko's yokai presence shimmered as the flames retracted into her necklace. Minato recognized her instantly, his daughter, Rei, unconscious but alive. Rushing to her side, he cradled her head as Mednin arrived. "Get a medical team now," he commanded. Then a shout, "Lord Hokage, look!" 3 more figures lay nearby, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. They were motionless, injured but alive. Medics arrived, placing them carefully on stretchers and heading to the hospital. Hours later, Kakashi was stabilized. The others had minor injuries, but Sakura remained peculiar. She had no traces of chakra in her body. Despite attempts to stimulate her energy, nothing worked. The doctors declared her a medical anomaly, the first recorded human with absolutely no chakra. Minato, concerned but relieved, entered Rei's room. She was sitting up, rubbing her eyes. "It's good to see you uninjured," he said, a smile breaking through his worry. Rei returned the smile but hesitated. "Father, I need to tell you something." Her eyes met his, steady and serious. It was Naruko. "What did you say?" Minato gave her that slightly cocked head look, like she had said something impossible. Tearing her eyes away from her father, Rei repeated herself. It was Naruko who did that to the others." Minato's eyes widened just a little. "You found her?" Nodding, Rei explained, "We were on our way back from Kumo when we came upon an area that looked completely cleared of trees. My necklace reacted to the special energy used to clear them. We followed it west into Frost Country, running late into the night, trying to catch up with Naruko. We finally found her shortly after daybreak the next day." Seeing her pause, Minato urged, "Well, what happened next?" "Kakashi asked Naruko to return to Konoha and make peace with our family, but she didn't want to come with us. Kakashi suggested it firmly, and Naruko said she would only return when she was ready, insisting Konoha had to change first. But that doesn't explain what happened to the team. Rei took a deep breath, recalling the strange events. Sakura tried to stop Naruko, but she was too fast and clever. Kakashi attempted to use a technique to gently restrain her, but it didn't work the usual way. Naruko had her own way of redirecting the energy, and everything froze for a moment. Then she carefully returned the energy to herself without hurting anyone. Minato leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And then? Then Naruko created a sparkling display of natural lightning, but it wasn't dangerous. It was like she was painting with light, and the team had to be safe. I was too scared to move, but she didn't mean any real harm. She just wanted them to be still for a while. After a few moments, she calmed the display and everything went back to normal. And what happened to Sasuke and Sakura? Rei brushed her fingers over the black lettering on her neck, hoping her father wouldn't notice. Naruko said she had to make sure they would be safe and listen. She placed her hands gently on their heads, and they just fell asleep for a bit, so no one got hurt. That's when she gave me this, she said, showing the mark on her skin. Minato's eyes widened. Where did this come from? Naruko did it, Rei said quietly. She said I could call her if I ever needed help. The Hokage's expression softened. A hopeful thought flickered across his mind. Call her, you say? Like my special teleportation? Well, she didn't explain exactly. Just that she would come if I needed her. Minato's smile returned. Then perhaps we can use her help to fix what has been broken. Rei hesitated. I can't call her now. She said only to use it in real danger. But like many teenagers do, she stretched the truth. Nothing is happening, Dad. Maybe the necklace just senses danger on its own. Minato's smile faded, and he stood. Sounds reasonable. When you're released from care, your mother will want to see you, she's been worried. Before he could leave, Rei asked, Dad, why did you seal the Kyuubi into Naruko? Minato froze. The Kyuubi threatened Konoha, sweetie. We had to protect everyone. That's not the whole story, Rei said firmly. The past Hokages tried to seal it for years. Why put it into Naruko instead of finding another way? I did what was necessary to protect Konoha, Minato replied. Rei pieced the truth together. You promised Naruko's safety in exchange for sealing the Kyuubi. And now you're treating her like a tool. Minato's face reddened. The Kyuubi is dangerous. I only wanted to protect our home. I would do it all again if I had to. Rei's eyes filled with tears. But Naruko isn't a monster. She's trying to help everyone, and she's still alive. Slap. Rei held her cheek, shocked. Minato's face returned to its normal color. You've spoken disrespectfully, Rei. You must learn your place. I hate this, Rei shouted, but her father was gone. From that day, Rei barely spoke to her father, quietly resenting the way he had controlled her dreams. Kushina tried to mend the bond, but every time Rei thought of Naruko and the Kyuubi, she remembered the pain and secrecy that had shadowed her childhood. Meanwhile, word spread that Naruko was visiting Iwa. Minato tried to send orders to bring her back, but that Tsuchikage refused. Naruko had become a cherished guest, helping Iwa thrive, and no one could force her to leave. Even the Fire Lord reminded Minato that Konoha could not risk angering Earth Country, whose prosperity now rested on Naruko's presence. Jiraiya, curious as ever, continued his gentle investigations, eager to understand why Naruko chose to stay in Iwa and how her magic could bring harmony instead of fear. Flashback. With the bulky white-haired Sannin leaning against the window, he delivered his findings on Naruko. My spy convinced one of the Anbu to talk, who was present for Naruko's appearance and acceptance into Iwagakure. The girl showcased a talent almost identical to the Shodime's Makuten, except that it could produce any kind of plant life, not just deciduous trees. When she arrived in Iwagakure, Naruko sprouted a plump peach from the dry, cracked earth for Aniki to taste. It must have been the sweetest fruit he had ever eaten. He simply turned and entered Iwa with Naruko in tow. Jiraiya continued reading from the log his spy had made. Upon entering the office, Naruko offered to make thousands upon thousands of acres of land bloom with fruits and vegetables of the highest quality, needing very little for them to grow. In return, Iwa would reveal the locations of the 4- and 5-tailed beasts. The Sannin skipped a few paragraphs, summarizing the trade for fairness, until he reached the end. Naruko offered not only her agricultural miracle but also Tsunade's secrets in strength and medicine. Minato frowned. Could she have figured out a modified version of the Yamanaka clan abilities? Jiraiya shook his head. How would Naruko know anything of Tsunade? She never taught anyone outside of Shizune and the Haruno girl. Minato's eyes narrowed. Whatever Naruko did to Sakura and the others, she could have gleaned the knowledge. And since Iwa has not rejected her, and Tsuchi Nin are throwing things around like Tsunade, it seems she was truthful in her offer. This will be terrible news to Tsunade, not only knowing Naruko is alive but that her famous jutsu is now one of Iwa's basic taught techniques. Jiraiya knew he would be the one to tell Tsunade, and it would hurt her deeply. Minato spoke firmly, Jiraiya, contact your students and accelerate the plan. With Naruko now hunting the Baijuo, we must collect them before she finds the rest. The Sannin nodded and leapt out the window to deliver the message to Tsunade and contact Nagato. Flashback end. 2 years had passed since Rei Namikaze was forbidden to become a ninja and forced into an unwanted life as a housewife. Now, she sat in her lavish room surrounded by beauty products and a crowd of excited girls, all preparing her for her wedding. Everyone said she was one of the most beautiful young women in Konoha, but on this day, Rei felt anything but beautiful. Finally, the preparations were done, and everyone left. Rei sat alone in front of the mirror, staring at her doll-like reflection. She thought of the life she was about to step into. Sasuke, stoic, never smiling Sasuke, would not speak unless spoken to. Would her days be filled with cold silences? Surely he wasn't that bad. She tried to convince herself. Her eyes lowered to the sea blue jewel resting at her chest. Naruko. If anyone could save her from this life, it was Naruko. Perhaps she could come, perhaps they could escape together and see the world. Naruko, please. I need your help, Rei whispered. She tried again, please answer me. I need you. Nothing happened. Rei's tears flowed freely, and for the first time in years, she felt truly alone. There was no time to hesitate. Today, Rei would no longer be a Namikaze, she would become an Uchiha. She stood and smoothed her strapless, beaded ball gown and tucked stray red hairs into her woven bun. Twirling in front of the mirror, she noticed that her tattoo had been carefully covered with layers of makeup. Outside, a horse-drawn carriage awaited to take her to the public gardens near Konoha's east walls. The streets were alive with cheers, orange and white streamers, and crowds eager to see the princess of Konoha marry the prince of the Uchiha. As she approached the gates of the ceremony, Rei's heart raced. Each step toward the altar felt heavier than the last. Her father would marry them in front of all the villagers. 20 steps. 15. 10. Her mind screamed to run. Please, Naruko. Help me. Suddenly, a whistling sound filled the sky. Everyone turned toward it as a purple orb grew larger and brighter, moving swiftly toward the gardens. It was Naruko. Her heart leapt with joy. The crowd scattered as the glowing orb neared, but Rei stood firm, feeling the energy of Naruko's pendant grow warm against her chest. The purple flame touched the ground at her feet, showering the garden in light and dust. When it settled, there she was, Naruko, wings spread and smiling, lifting Rei into a joyful embrace. I knew you wouldn't abandon me, Rei cried. I could never, Naruko replied, holding her tight. Kiyomi, Rei's friend, watched the reunion with a bright smile. Don't forget about me now. Rei hugged Kiyomi tightly. I would never forget. Soon, Minato arrived, seeking answers. Stepping in front of the girls, Naruko approached her father with a playful grin. Come on, father. How could you forget me? Minato blinked as Naruko's form shimmered and shifted, taking the shape she had at 15, just before her fateful journey. The orange jacket hung open over her youthful frame. Do you remember me now, father? She asked, her eyes full of hope and mischief. 2 years ago, in the quiet halls of the recovering retrieval squad, Sakura rested in a soft teal gown, hoping her doctor would give her the green light to return to training. She missed learning, growing, and, more than anything, she missed keeping up with Naruko, who had a way of always getting into surprising adventures. I'm sorry, Ms. Haruno, but your body can no longer produce chakra, the doctor said gently. Sakura's emerald eyes widened, and she sat up straight. That can't be true, she whispered, trying to summon her chakra, willing it to bloom at her fingertips. But nothing happened. The doctor had already left, leaving her in stunned silence. A knock came at her door, and before she could respond, it swung open. Ino bounded in, her long blonde hair bouncing as she carried a cheerful bouquet of flowers. Sakura. You're awake. When do they let you out? We have to celebrate your recovery. I want every detail about your mission, come on, tell me everything. Seeing no response, Ino's voice softened. Hey. Are you okay? Sakura's head drooped, pink hair falling around her face. Ino carefully sat at her side and wrapped her arms around her friend. A few tears fell from Sakura onto the blanket. Could you please call Lady Tsunade? Sakura whispered. Ino nodded softly. Of course. But afterwards, you have to tell me what's wrong, alright? Sakura nodded faintly. Please. She needs to check something. Ino hurried off through the rooftops of Konoha, scanning the streets for the familiar green jacket of Tsunade. Soon, she spotted the legendary Sanin selecting fruits at a market. Lady Tsunade. Ino called, her voice urgent. Sakura needs you. With a gentle smile and a nod, Tsunade followed Ino across the rooftops, clutching her basket to her chest as they arrived at the hospital. In Sakura's room, the young ninja stared intently at her hands. Ahem, Tsunade said, her calm but commanding voice filling the room. Sakura, what is it you need? Startled, Sakura quickly composed herself. Lady Tsunade. Please scan my body. Green chakra shimmered around Tsunade's hands as she carefully examined Sakura. After a moment, her brow furrowed. The results were the same as the doctor's. Sakura's body could no longer produce chakra. Sakura swallowed hard. It was Naruko. She was trying to teach me something, and I think I lost my chakra afterward. Tsunade's heart ached for her student. Naruko must have learned a way to teach without using magic, without harming anyone, she said softly, voice filled with compassion. Your body. It's changed, Sakura. But it doesn't mean your future is gone. Sakura let her tears fall freely into her mentor's arms. Ino quietly held her, letting her cry as Tsunade offered quiet comfort. Finally, Sakura's sobs softened, and sleep gently took her. Outside, Ino caught up to Tsunade. Lady Tsunade. What will happen to Sakura now? With a soft smile, though her eyes glimmered with unshed tears, Tsunade replied, she won't be able to use chakra like before, but there are many ways to be a ninja without it. She can teach, she can invent, she can inspire. I'll help her find her path. Ino's eyes widened. Really? There's hope? Always, Tsunade said. And I'll make sure Naruko knows how important her lessons are, too. No matter what, Sakura's light will never fade. And so, the three friends, Sakura, Ino, and Tsunade, stood together in the soft glow of the hospital room. Even though some paths had changed, new adventures awaited, full of friendship, laughter, and discovery. Naruko, somewhere outside, was surely planning her next clever lesson, unaware of the bright hope she had left in her friends' hearts. Tsunade sat in her favorite quiet corner of the Konoha tea garden, her hands wrapped around a small cup of warm rice tea. She watched the sunlight dance across the leaves and sighed. Memories of her little girl, Naruko, filled her mind, the way Naruko would run across the fields in her bright yellow sundress, chasing butterflies and giggling, her golden hair bouncing in the sun. I can't just give up on her, Tsunade whispered to herself. She's my daughter, and I need to see her shine. Just then, the air shimmered slightly beside her, and Jiraiya appeared, leaning casually against a tree. Tsunade, you can't stop being a ninja. It's in your blood, he said gently. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. I told you to leave me alone, Jiraiya. I need to focus on my daughter, not on being a hero for the village right now. Jiraiya nodded, understanding the depth of her grief. I know, but Naruko. She needs both of us. You've always given so much to Konoha, but your gifts could help guide her. Tsunade pressed her lips together, thinking of Naruko's small hands, always eager to learn. She's different now. Her chakra. It's gone. She can't do the things other ninja can. She can't heal, she can't fight like she used to. I just want her to be safe. Jiraiya crouched beside her. Being a ninja isn't just about chakra. It's about courage, heart, and never giving up. Naruko has all of that. She just needs to see it in herself. A few weeks later, Naruko was sitting in her small room, her head bent over a book about healing techniques. Though she no longer had chakra, she refused to give up. Her friends came by to check on her. Ino, Hinata, and the rest of her classmates surrounded her, their voices buzzing with concern. Naruko, how are you feeling? Hinata asked softly. Naruko lifted her head, her golden eyes shining with determination. I don't have chakra anymore. I can't do ninjutsu like before. But that doesn't mean I'm nothing. I can still learn, I can still help people in my own way. The room went quiet for a moment as her classmates absorbed her words. Then, one by one, they smiled. That's amazing, Naruko, Ino said. You're still a ninja, just in your own way. Kiba nodded, wagging his tail. Yeah. You might not be able to use chakra, but you've got heart. That counts for more than anything. Even Rock Lee, who had always believed in the power of hard work, gave her a thumbs up. Your strength isn't in magic, it's in your determination. Naruko smiled shyly, feeling a warmth in her chest. For the first time since losing her chakra, she felt like she still belonged. She wasn't the same as before, but she was still herself. Outside, the sun was bright in the sky. Tsunade watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride. Her daughter had faced a loss that would have stopped anyone else, but Naruko had chosen courage. Later, walking through the bustling market streets of Konoha, Naruko noticed people staring and whispering. A group of men pointed at her, trying to make her feel small. Look at her. She can't even fight anymore, one laughed. Naruko's eyes filled with tears, but she held her head high. Before she could turn away, Rock Lee appeared beside her. You don't have to listen to them, he said firmly. They don't see the real strength you carry. Naruko blinked, letting his words sink in. Strength. It's not just about fighting, is it? No, Lee said. Strength is about courage, kindness, and never giving up, even when things seem impossible. Naruko took a deep breath. For the first time in a long while, she felt hope bloom inside her. She might not have chakra, but she had heart, determination, and the love of her friends and family. That was more than enough to start a new journey, one where she could shine in her own unique way. And as Tsunade watched her daughter disappear down the street, a gentle smile spread across her face. Naruko was growing up to be just as strong as she had always hoped, stronger, even, in ways the world couldn't take away. The sun blazed brightly above Konoha, warming the streets and making the flowers in the garden sway gently in the breeze. Among those tending to the greenery was none other than Naruko, a spirited young ninja with bright blonde hair and a heart full of curiosity. She hummed a cheerful tune as she watered the massive Senju gardens. Great-grandfather really knew how to make the flowers smile, she said, surveying the garden filled with every color of blossom imaginable. Naruko had left the days of serious ninja duties behind and found joy in cultivating the garden alongside her friends Shizune and Rei Namikaze. The stress of missions was gone, replaced by calm days of nurturing plants and watching butterflies dance across the petals. But just as Naruko bent to tend a particularly radiant sunflower, a shadow fell across the path. Naruko, I bring news from the neighboring village, called Jiraiya, stepping out from behind an arch covered in ivy. Naruko stood straight, brushing dirt from her hands. I'm sure it's nothing I need to worry about, Jiraiya. I'm perfectly content here with my flowers. This involves your special abilities, Jiraiya said, looking concerned. Naruko raised an eyebrow, curiosity sparking in her eyes. Special abilities? What could possibly worry me enough to pull me away from my garden? Some of the ninja in Iwa have been using techniques similar to yours, Jiraiya explained carefully. They're showing remarkable strength, almost like what you taught Sakura. Naruko paused, a small smile spreading across her face. Is that so? I suppose it's wonderful that so many are learning to be strong, even without my guidance. Imagine, a whole village sharing kindness and courage like this. Jiraiya blinked, astonished. You're not upset that your techniques were shared? Naruko laughed softly, shaking her head. Why would I be? Knowledge is meant to grow. If others can use it to help people, that's a kind of magic in itself. I'm proud to see others blossom, even if I didn't teach them directly. Jiraiya frowned, still worried. But what if they misuse the techniques? Naruko's eyes sparkled with determination. Then I'll find a way to guide them, not by anger, but by example. Sometimes, showing kindness and creativity teaches more than strict rules ever could. The toad sage rubbed his chin thoughtfully. You really are remarkable, Naruko. I don't think I've ever met someone who sees challenges this way. Naruko giggled, brushing her hair back from her face. Life is much brighter when you look for the good in every situation. Now, how about we take a break? I think these sunflowers need a little more attention before lunch. Minutes later, Jiraiya and Naruko were strolling through the garden, admiring the flowers and chatting about distant lands and whimsical adventures. Naruko imagined little children running through these gardens, learning not only about strength but also about caring, sharing, and laughing together. If you ever wanted to pass on your knowledge, Jiraiya said hesitantly, maybe teaching others here could be fun? Naruko's eyes lit up with excitement. Oh, that would be wonderful. I can show them how to use their abilities to help their friends, care for nature, and solve problems creatively. That sounds like the perfect adventure. And so, the garden became more than a place of flowers, it became a place of learning, joy, and imagination, where Naruko taught not just skills, but the magic of kindness, courage, and community. And through her laughter and guidance, the village grew stronger, not only in power, but in heart. Naruko was practicing her ninja moves in the garden of her cozy home, twirling and leaping with the precision of a dancer. She had always been full of energy, and today, she was testing herself against a training challenge that her sensei had left for her. Suddenly, she felt a light gust and was surprised to see a familiar figure appear nearby. "Naruko," called Minato, standing tall with his Hokage robes flowing in the breeze. 4 Anbu ninjas flanked him, their masks glinting under the sunlight. "Minato. What brings you here?" Naruko asked, adjusting her stance. "I've been exploring the fire country and everything seems peaceful. I don't understand why you're here." Minato's eyes were calm but firm. "Naruko, the village needs your help. You have a special gift, and others look up to you. I want you to inspire them, to teach, to lead." Naruko crossed her arms, a playful spark in her eyes. "I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I'll help when I want to, thank you very much." Minato smiled gently. "You have such determination. That's why I came. But remember, with great power comes responsibility." Naruko grinned mischievously and suddenly leapt forward, dodging harmlessly around Minato and the Anbu. She twirled and somersaulted, using her agility to avoid the flurry of gentle training strikes they sent her way. Rocks rose from the ground, kunai flew like soft practice darts, and Naruko danced through them all, laughing. "Ha! You'll have to do better than that," she called, landing gracefully in a patch of flowers. Her movements were elegant yet powerful, like a leaf carried by the wind. The Anbu attempted to corner her, but Naruko's creativity and quick thinking allowed her to turn every obstacle into a playful game. One ninja tried a spinning attack, but Naruko caught their hands gently, guiding them into a soft, harmless tumble onto the ground. Breathing heavily but smiling, Naruko looked around. Only 2 of the Anbu remained upright while the rest had collapsed in fits of laughter and exhaustion from trying to keep up with her. Minato stepped forward, holding a small swirling orb of chakra, the Rasengan, but this time, it wasn't meant to harm. Naruko met his eyes, and in that moment, she understood. This was a lesson, not a fight. Their hands met around the glowing orb. They pushed gently against each other, testing strength and balance. Minato's expression softened as Naruko's face lit up with a victorious grin. With a careful push, she redirected the Rasengan into a harmless burst that showered the garden with sparkling light. Naruko closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the moment, and a memory drifted into her mind. Dash. Little Naruko ran through a field of flowers, the petals brushing against her tiny hands. Her mother watched lovingly from a picnic blanket, smiling as Naruko tossed the flowers in the air like confetti. "Mommy, where's Daddy?" Naruko asked, her big eyes curious. "He's far away, working to protect the village," her mother replied gently. Naruko tilted her head. "Then I'll become the greatest ninja so Daddy will come home." She dashed off, a little sandwich in hand, giggling. "Hey, slow down. Don't eat and run at the same time," her mother called, chasing after her. They tumbled and rolled through the flowers together, laughter ringing through the sunny day. Finally, Naruko's mother scooped her up into a hug. "You are full of energy and love. I'm so proud of you." "I love you too, Mommy," Naruko said, taking a big bite of her sandwich, mustard on her cheeks. Her mother laughed and wiped it gently away. "And I love you more than all the flowers in the world." Dash. Naruko opened her eyes, the memory filling her with warmth. She looked at Minato and the Anbu, who were waiting patiently. "I understand now," she said softly. "I'll help teach and inspire others. Not because I have to, but because I want to." Minato smiled. That's all anyone could hope for. And with that, Naruko twirled once more in the garden, the sunlight catching her hair, ready for new adventures, full of joy, love, and endless curiosity. Tsunade felt a sudden chill sweep over her, and for a moment, the world around her seemed to drift into a quiet shadow. "Masumi," she whispered softly, her voice barely more than a sigh. Minato stepped back, feeling the weight of what had just happened, though thankfully no harm had come to anyone. He looked around, taking in the soft glow of the evening light as it danced across the leaves. Beside him, Jiraiya stood quietly, his usually cheerful eyes heavy with concern. "Sensei. I didn't mean for this to happen," Minato said, his voice trembling slightly. "It was an accident." Jiraiya gave a small, understanding nod. I know, Minato. Sometimes, even our best intentions can lead to surprises. Let's just take a moment to breathe. From where she sat, Tsunade could see the care and worry in her friends' faces. Though everything felt confusing and overwhelming, she could also sense a warmth spreading through the quiet air, like sunlight slipping through the clouds. Jiraiya slowly knelt down beside her, brushing a hand gently across a patch of grass, feeling the soft dew beneath his fingers. Minato leaned close, offering a comforting smile. It's okay, Sensei. We're here. You're not alone. As the world around them grew quieter, Tsunade noticed something magical. The blades of grass shimmered with tiny sparkles, as if the earth itself was holding its breath in gentle encouragement. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying soft, humming notes that made her heart feel lighter. Soon, laughter bubbled up from Naruko, who had been watching the scene from a short distance. Come on. The sun's still shining, and the flowers are waiting for us. Let's go explore before it sets. Tsunade felt a smile tug at her lips. The sadness that had weighed on her began to lift, replaced by a gentle hope. She could hear the birds chirping in the distance, their songs wrapping around the group like a warm blanket. Slowly, she pushed herself up, brushing the grass from her robes. All right, she said, her voice steady now, let's go see what adventures await us. Together, they walked through the glowing meadow, the colors of the flowers brighter than ever, and the sky painted with shades of gold and lavender. Even in moments that once felt heavy, Tsunade realized that friendship, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow could turn the darkest moments into something gentle and full of light. Naruko skipped ahead, turning back to smile at her friends. Don't worry. The world is still full of magic, and we'll discover it together. And as they moved forward, hand in hand, the meadow seemed to glow a little brighter, and even the shadows felt safe. Dear friends, this is all for now. I hope you enjoyed the content and found it entertaining or helpful. If you did, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me continue creating more videos and sharing my passion with all of you. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep improving and bringing even better content in the future. Thank you once again for being a part of this journey. Stay tuned for upcoming videos, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. I truly appreciate every one of you who watches, comments, and engages with my content. It wouldn't be the same without you. With gratitude. 6 Path Weeb.